Hey guys, Rober here, and I wanted to do this video a little bit differently. I wanted to talk to you guys about how you can make your own ACs. Everybody always sees my build and goes, "Wow, this thing makes this works so well. It makes so much sense." You know, I wish I could make that. You can make stuff like that, and it's very easy. And I'm going to show you guys how I do it, and hopefully you can take away some tips that will help you start crafting your own ACs. So the first thing you really want to do when you're building any AC is you start with the weapons. The weapons are the first place you start with. I like to decide like my general strategy, my game plan, what I want to do, right? So there's a couple game plans in Armored Core. You know, there's race for stagger, for a melee punish. So you could do something like this. You could be like, oh, I want to do stagger melee punish. So it would be like anything that's high stagger, that builds stagger quickly, you know, Ludlow, Etsujin, whatever, and then a melee weapon of your choice, you know? Like this could be a build. I know it doesn't look like it, but this could be a build, you know? It has a concept behind it. Double trigger Ludlow for stagger punish into power bunker. That is a valid strategy. Some strategies are, I never want to get hit, and I just want to put out DPS, right? So I could do this, right? Double Curtis. Double Curtis is a strategy. And then you could go, okay, since I'm trying not to get hit, I could double it up with a shield. And then since I'm kiting and running away, straight missiles would work really well. You see how like the concepts build off of each other, right? I just started with Double Curtis. And then I went, okay, Double Curtis shield. And then I went, okay, Double Curtis shield missile. Right? And then after you decide your weapons, right? And you know, there's more to it, right? Let's say I want to do shotguns. I go, okay, I want shotguns, you know. Boom, shotgun. And then I could go, okay, since I have double shotguns, it might be helpful to have another set of shotguns on the back, or, you know, missiles that will create chaos on the battlefield. You know, but once you've decided your weapons, then, and your back weapons, and you kind of have a game plan, that's when you start building the frame parts. And really the most important frame part is the leg. Your leg type is 100% decided by your weapons, right? To give you an example, you wouldn't do like Sweet 16s on a Born and Misa. You know what I mean? Like, this makes no sense. See what I'm saying? You could try it, but you know, it probably wouldn't work very well because you'd have to get close to them. You would have to come up with a way in which this can function, but it probably wouldn't, right? So your leg type is 100% decided by your game plan, you know? And really the thing you need to think about is, how do I want to move, right? So let's say I want to do a thing where I have an explosive thrower on my left arm and a shield. And my game plan here is like, okay, I want to do, I want to float around, be annoying, and then I want to basically do zone control, right? I want to do zone control. What you could do is you could be like, okay, Javelin is a really good zone control weapon. Even after the nerf, it still is really good because it denies a big area. And then you can say, okay, well, now I have an explosive thrower and a Javelin and a shield. What do I want for the hand weapon? Well, you can do a couple things, right? You can say, okay, the P file has really high uptime. It's really annoying. The hand split missile has a lot high uptime, really annoying. Or you could even do something as simple as the Curtis and be like really decisive charge attacks while having consistent output at range, right? So we'll do this for now, and then now you build out the rest of it. So we go, okay, trying to do zone control, be annoying. So now we go to the legs, right? What do we want for the legs? Biped is an option, but for this style, we probably want a little more stability, right? Tank could work, but we might be a little too slow. We'd be taxing that shield. We'd be overburdening it. Now we get to here. This might be something, man. VP44 or the Varel legs. High stability. It lets us water stride, which is huge. Now we're talking. And then we'll go to arms, because the arms are the second most important piece in any setup. We have a thrower. And a thrower is a melee weapon, but it does not scale off of melee specialization, so we don't care about melee specialization. And we have a Curtis, so we really only care about firearm spec here. And now we have a choice, right? The Curtis has decently high recoil, so what we're going to do is we're going to figure out how much recoil spec we need. So we're going to look at the recoil, which is 24, and then we're going to look at the fire rate, which is 2.5. And what you do is if you have two hand weapons, you add their recoil together and then average their rate of fire. Since we only have one, we're just going to stick with the numbers the Curtis has. So the formula is going to be recoil multiplied by fire rate, so it's going to be 24 times 2.5. Obviously, if you have other weapons, you add the recoil and then average the rapid fire, but we don't have that. So it's recoil times rapid fire divided by 1 minus 0.05 times rapid fire. And that's going to spit out the recoil control number you need, which for us is 68. So that means basically any arm we want to use. Look, I'll go to the bottom recoil control. Any arm, Noctriher and above has perfect, which is excellent, meaning we can use whatever arm we want. So now we're really only concerned about firearm spec and then AP and defenses. So if we look, we don't really need the 160 in my opinion of this, because this is kind of a mid-range build and we have only one rifle, so I don't think we need 160. If you have double RF, we might want 160, but we don't. So honestly, I would either run Melander or Hal, but Hal dumps a lot of stats into recoil control and melee, and it has good AP and defenses, but for the weight to EN load, I think Melander might be the best choice here, right? And then we move down to the core, and we got to decide what weight class we want to be in. And once you get past the arms, right? Once you get past the arms, you get into core, head, booster, and generator. The booster, generator, core, and head are all kind of one thing, because this is affecting like the finer tune of how your AC moves. So I've already decided we kind of want a water stride, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the booster stats. And booster stats determine a lot of important things. But for like, you need to determine what your most important stat is, right? So some builds really care about melee thrust. Some builds really care about basic move speed. Some builds care about QB reload. So since we're water striding, we care about jet duration, right? So if we look, basic move speed is important for like kite builds, which is thrust. Kite builds care about that. Rushdown cares about it a little bit. Floating kite builds care about upwards thrust and upwards EN consumption. Aggressive rushdown builds care about QB thrust and QB EN consumption, and assault boost consumption as well. And then if you have melee attacks, your melee thrust is an important consideration as well. There's no hard and fast science to this, honestly. It's really more like you have an idea of what you're looking for, and then you test and edit as you go. So we're a quad leg build, so we know that our thrust, our boost speed, and our thrust stat does not matter at all, because we're going to be hovering most of the game. So we don't care about thrust at all. I know that sounds weird, but like the when you go into hover mode, they have a hard-coded speed limit that's just based off of weight. So we really only care about QB reload and QB jet. So QB jet is really high on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but we have a 80-second recharge, which kind of sucks. This is 67, a little better. 63, a little better. 80 still sucks. So it's looking like NGI is going to be our best bet. It might even be Mule, because this has a cheaper upwards thrust. Everything's cheaper on the Mule, and the only downside is a little slower. So I think we'll go to the Mule. All right, and now we have this kind of a floaty build, and then we can look at the generator. And the generators, right? There's like three types of generators. There is, well, there's more than 3 types, but really there's multiple stats that matter, right? So if we look, there's capacity. That's how much energy you have. More capacity is always better, right? There's EN recharge, which is the higher your EN recharge, like the weight limit after you like quick boost or after you do something else. So let me sort by EN recharge. I'll just show you. It'll be easier. So we'll grab a Santai, right? And let me put on the ephemera just so I can use everything. Oh my god, we're EN shortfall with ephemera. What? Oh, oops. Here, I'll do this. All right, so look, I'll show you guys this really quick. I'm going to test. So when I quick boost, right, if I have higher EN recharge, I will get my energy back faster. So watch, we'll see. Quick boost, 1, 2, right? So 2 seconds, I'm back to full. Now, if we go to a really low EN recharge, like the 20C, I'm gonna quick boost, and then you'll see 1, 2, 3, yeah, a whole another second, right? So that's how fast you get your shit back after doing like an action that consumes energy. Capacity is just like your bar down here on EN load. So low capacity, right? You can see the bar rising. Oh, I'm sorry, output. Capacity is what you have in your bar to play with, right? Like in the game, capacity is what you're using. Output is this bar down here. So look, if we look, this is really high, and then as we go down, it shrinks and shrinks and shrinks, and then it's like nothing, more, right? So let's look. So we talked about recharge, supply recovery. Supply recovery is after you're redlined, how fast you get your stuff back. So let's sort by recovery. So obviously Lingtai, Mingtai, Santai, they come back faster after redline. So let's do this, and I'll show you guys. I'll redline really quick, and we'll see how fast it takes to get it back. We're going to redline, and 1, 2 seconds, and then let's grab a Hokushi. We'll do the same thing. We'll see how long it takes to come back from redline. 1, 2, 3 seconds, right? So, that's like how fast you come back from redline. And then post and supply recovery is the amount of energy you get off of redline, right? So something like a 20D has 1400, which is crazy, right? You're getting 1400 energy back. It's like the Hokushi only gets like 850, right? And then energy firearm spec is just, if you're using energy weapons, they do more damage. So the trick here, right, is you have to decide when you're picking a generator, like what is my strategy? Do I want to redline a bunch, or do I want to? Am I not trying to redline? So if you're floating, if you're trying to play like a flying floating build, like a rifle kite with an NGI booster, you probably care about these two stats: how fast you recover and the amount you get back. So we'll look at supply recovery first, and we'll see what has the highest supply recovery. So it's a Lingtai, but then if you look, the post recovery EN supply is 280. It's probably not it. So Santai might be good, 810. But then we look at the Yaba, and it has a 555 supply recovery and 1000 recovery. Another good choice would be the 20C, which is 1001, but I think the Yaba would be better. Now it has worse output and lower capacity, but it would let us play off redline better. So actually, let me show you guys this really quick. I'll just float around and look. You can see. So we can just do this. We redline, and we're already back with half our bar back. So if you had like a upwards booster and you're trying to play off redline, the NGI might be, or I'm sorry, the Yaba might be a good choice. But to stay back on topic for what we're doing, we're trying to float and maximize our time hovering, and we don't have to worry about redline stats because we're going to be trying to manage our energy because we're going to be close to the ground. So obviously, like for us, the Santai would probably be the best choice because it has the highest capacity, and it's going to have a very high EN recharge as well, which is another stat we care about. You could also do the Mingtang as well. We'll do Mingtang, right? Because like we're gonna be close to the ground. We don't need as big capacity. We're not gonna be chasing. So capacity really is most important when you're chasing. But since we're playing defensively, capacity isn't the biggest thing we care about. So we'll go Mingtang. All right, and then FCS is based off weapon choice, right? You can do FCS whenever, but we basically know we're trying to be mid-range. but we know that they might get close to us. We're gonna go Walt. So you basically just look at your weapons. And by the way, melee weapons do not affect FCS at all. Melee weapons don't matter. They have their own internal tracking. So really the only things you're looking at are your weapons and your missiles. So obviously this, we know we want this to work at mid-range, but we have the charge attack, which is like kind of a line attack that has a big hitbox. And we have the missile. So we know we want high missile lock correct and decent mid-range while having good close range. So this thing, high missile lock correct, but crappy tracking stats. P12, a little better. PL5, even better. The Talbot has good missile stats, but we're losing out on the mid-range. Look at the Walt. It's only 5 less up close, but it has 23 more in mid-range. And you're only missing 1 missile lock correct. So we're going to go Walt with this chip. And then we're going to look at the core, right? The big thing I like to sort by is stability on the core. So this could work, but it's going to be heavy, right? We're going to be... Our QB goes up to 73, and we're going to be slower in the float. Even heavier. And look, Melander right here, right? 63. This brings it to 64. And this has good energy stats. So see, I sorted by stability, and then I went until I found something that was heavy, just the right weight to fit on the legs we chose, and won't jack us up. So look, so it's going to be a little expensive on the booster, but like we said, we're not worried about energy because we're going to be close to the ground. Yeah, and then anything else, right? We start getting messed up numbers. Hal could be good as well, but it's going to be heavier and be missing stability. You have better stats otherwise, but this is a little better. And then we go to the head, right? We go to the head. Let's look, weight. And we can see, we can fit every head. So then we'll sort by stability. And we'll see what options we have. Mind beta, really good stability. So the stats you care about for the heads, obviously AP and defenses, but stability is the biggest one because your head is like where you really capstone your build and you decide what kind of stability you want. But there's other stats too, right? Your scan is important, but your scan is like the least important stat, I think. If you can get good like tank stats like on your build and you have a crappy scan, you kind of just deal. But system recovery and scan are the two biggest ones because system recovery stops you getting zapped. So obviously the head is important, and system recovery matters. So like usually I like the ephemera, right? Because it has high stability, high AP, really good defenses, and high system recovery, so we don't get zapped. But since we have a shield on this build, we instantly don't care about system recovery. So we're gonna run the mind beta, just get the most stability for kind of crappy system recovery. Like 96 is really bad system recovery, but the shield blocks stun guns, so we don't care. So this is our setup here, right? We have 2.6k efficiency, which is not the best. You want to aim for like 4k, but I typically don't go under 2.5. So 2.5 to 4k is your range for supply efficiency. It's how fast you recharge your bar. But for this type of build, I think it's okay. And then we have a working build here, and let's go in and test it, right? Let's see how we hover. Not bad, right? And then we drop down. The booster efficiency is a little rough, so we might want to get a bigger capacity generator or change the core to a more booster efficient one. And we can spawn in a trainer AC and see how it works. You can see. So we're missing our shots, but this guy's known for dodging things. You see it here. Not bad, right? Like kind of has like a plan. And we can drop down, get our energy back, pop back up. So see, we've already created like something that can kind of do a plan. See, and we just manage the mid-range here. So this is a build that has a plan. And then after you've been in the garage, right? And you've come up with like your idea for what you're gonna do. Oh, we missed our thrower. So like this is like it has a game plan, and we have like a coherent idea of what makes sense. We know what we're trying to do here. The next step is you go into multiplayer and you test it, right? And then you determine where your build has holes. So you play and then you figure out why you're losing, right? You don't just play and then you go, oh man, I'm losing. This build fucking sucks, right? You lose and then you figure out, okay, why did I lose? What was like? Could I not catch the kites? Could I not? Was I not hitting my shots? Like whatever, right? Let's say you keep getting. Let's say on this build, you keep getting rushed down and you can't hit your shots up close. What you might want to do then, if you're not hitting your shots up close, you can do two things. You can either change this to like a shotgun or like a bazooka, and then you change your FCS, right? So like, okay, if we're getting rushed down and we keep losing, you just go to Talbot, right? Okay, now we don't get rushed down anymore because we can hit our shots up close. Shit like that. So that's like one example, right? So let's reset, and let's say we want to do a let's say we want to do like a aggressive rush down build. So we want to be up in someone's shit and like attack them and like give them no break. So you have a couple options, right? You could do Ludlows, you could do Itsujins, shotguns, and the way you determine, right, is you look at the impact numbers and then you look at the ideal range. So let's say we want to do a rushdown build. So we'll do pistols, right? Just because they look fun, we'll use pistols. So we have two pistols here. Okay. Now the next step, right, is the complementary weapons. So since these are stagger weapons, right, they build stagger really high, we could go, okay, we could stagger punish, or you could say, I'm not trying to do stagger punish, I'm trying to play a more reserved game. So for stagger punish, right, we could go, okay, I want a melee punish. So you could go pile bunker, dagger, twin blade, fucking pulse blade, whatever. Or if you know about like certain mechanics, you could be like, okay, I know that with the new patch, redshift, and javelin is a combo that works, right? This is a stagger punish that works now with the new patch. So you can say this is my stagger punish, and this is like the first half of build. But we could say, you know what, we want to do a more reserved stagger build. So we can say, oh, I want a shield, right? I want a shield because I want to play like mid-range and then like flex how good I'm at blocking shots. Okay, now we have a way to build stagger, and then what's our punish? Well, we can sort by direct hit adjustment. Oh, Tranos. Tranos are a great punish. They work unlocked with on stagger because they're not moving, so you can just shoot them. And they're also a really good way to harass people with bad energy management. Okay, now this is looking like something. Now we can go to the arms, and we can say, okay, well, I know that if I take the ducats, and we average the rapid fire, obviously to 1.7 because they're the same, and we add the recoil up to 60, so 60 times 1.7 divided by 1 minus 0.05 times 1.7, that's going to equal 111 recoil control. So now we can sort by recoil control, and look, 232, 150, 145, go all the way down to 116, 111. And so now we see that these have 111, and we can look. Are these higher firearm spec? Yep, these are higher, so these would be better. These would be 130, but they're not at 111. So the highest firearm spec with perfect recoil we can get is these arms, okay? So how? Perfect arms, right? They have perfect recoil control, and they have the highest firearm spec with perfect. Okay. And then let's look at the legs. We want to be probably pretty slick, but we want to be bouncing around. So we can do knock driver, or we could say, hey, we're not committed to like melee attacks, so we can be flying. We can float. So we'll do Alba, right? Because Albas have the most stats out of the lightweight legs. So we'll do Alba legs. And then we start looking at the booster because we know, hey, we want to be floating around. So the first thing we'll do is we'll sort by thrust. We'll just look at what's down here. PO6. Okay. But we want to be floating, so we probably want better floating stats. So we can say, okay, well, the Alba, while being probably a little better for quick boosting, is going to have way worse upward stats for thrust and consumption. What about gills? Oh, looks like there's something here. Gills, okay. So look, we're getting, it's going to be cheaper on the upwards thrust, and it's going to have more upwards thrust. And it's going to give us a low cooldown in the air, and it's going to have a shorter jet duration, but the 0.3 second reload won't really matter, right? Because we'll be able to spam it. Okay, like now there's something, right? Okay, and then we were looking earlier, we already decided Yabo was a good floaty generator. Okay, there we go. And then let's just throw on pulse armor really quick. And then let's look at the core, right? Okay, let's sort by weight. We want to see the heaviest thing we can run without being overburdened. And then for the head, we'll just put on this just so we don't run about with weight. Okay, so it looks like Mind Alpha is the fattest thing we can put on there. Mind Alpha is not bad, but if we have a 0.3 second QB reload, 95 boost efficiency might be a little too low. So let's look. This is 102. This is something. Here we go. Okay. And then we have good stats, right? Because like our stability is going to be higher than about half. Right? So like now our supply efficiency is at 3.1k. And we have what was our stability at? 1791. Actually not bad. And we still have the shield, so we can still run this head. It's not looking terrible, right? And now we go down to the FCS. We'll look at our weapons. Obviously, these have a ideal range of 90, so we probably want Osseous, right? And you may be like, oh, but the missile lock correct. But remember, we can fire this unlocked because we're going for the stagger. So we don't necessarily care about missile lock with this setup. All right, so now this is something, right? This is something. So let's take it into the test and see how it plays. And remember, since you're in the air, you want to be working that. And look, we're already back up. Boom, stagger punish. Yeah, so this is like something, right? And we fire this unlock, get the punish. And we're regenerating our energy. We're going to put up our shield up. Look, this is like playing pretty good, right? This is something we just cooked up just now. Boom, stagger punish. Look at that. So that's like something right there that we just did by following the principles, you know? Now, obviously, this is going to be as like aggressive and crazy as like a melee punish? No. But like, let's say we're fighting a much more aggressive opponent, we would be able to be on the back foot and kite them with this build, and this would make tanks like, let's say this guy's like playing a tank, right? Like, okay, this guy's big fucking fat guy. He's gonna fuck us up. We can literally just play back and just harass our Tranos, right? And then we want to get in. We're gonna get in. Try and get above him so he can't hit us. And then shield in the retrograde and get out of there so we don't get hit by anything. And then just keep harassing with Tranos. And then you can just rat out, right? So like there's like it's the other part, right? Like that's like part of like deciding why you're losing is let's say we keep losing the tanks, right? It's like, okay, maybe you can't rat them out, or maybe you don't have the DPS to fuck them up close, right? Like there's different concepts of like how people are playing the game, and it's up to you to determine why you're losing. And then you go back and hit the workbench again and figure out why your build works or why it doesn't work. So I think what we can do is I can go over some of the builds I've made and talk about the design choices I made to reach there, right? So like, let me look at some of my builds. This build's actually a really good example, right? This build is really weird looking, but it follows the design principles perfectly. So the reason why this thing is like bizarre is like these parts at face value make no sense, but when you break it down, it does. So starting with the weapons, I was like, I want to do Worger Pulse Blade. That was like the initial concept, is like Worger Pulse Blade, what makes this work? And then it was like, okay, I have no range with Worger Pulse Blade, so I want to add some range, so I added missiles. And then the thought was, okay, well, do I want to keep just continually firing off missiles, or do I want a big barrage that I can use in between assaults? And that was the concept, was like, oh, I want barrages. I want to fire off a bunch of fucking missiles at once so I can run these people down and chase them while the huge missile swarm is coming after them. And then I chose these. And the reason I picked these missiles is they fire delayed, right? So I have two big delayed firing missiles. They create a big wall of bullshit flying at someone that gives me the opportunity to now approach my Worger Pulse Blade, right? Let me go down to the legs, and I knew that on this build I was going to use melee thrust booster like a Kikaku or a Flugel, so I didn't necessarily care about my weight because I could be faster than my weight class. So I wanted to go with a mid weight. So then I sorted by weight, and I looked, and I was like, okay, I can do Melander VP422, Melander non C3, Hal, whatever. And then I looked, and I was like, wow, if we look at the stability and the other stats with Basho, it's actually not bad, and it's a really cheap energy consumption leg. It's only 300, which is important because we're running a Wurger, so we want the energy generator. If you look, these actually have really high jump stats. So when we're trying to do our little cancels on the floor, the jump stats are important, right? So then I was like, okay, wait, Basho actually slots in perfectly here. So we put Bashos. And then we kept working, and we're like, obviously we want Basho arms for the melee punish. And we're going to have Oculus, because we know, because we have a Wurger, it's a close range weapon. So we don't really care about range at all. So we're like, okay, we're going to run Oculus so we can run Basho arms. And it's like the core, it's like, okay, well, looking at the core, right, we've already settled on being a midweight. That puts us at Wrecker. We can't run it with 20B, so obviously off the table. We're in Mind Alpha, which would be a good choice. But what we really care about are these energy stats, so we can do our crazy boost shenanigans, right? This puts us at 4K, and our stability is about 100 less than what you'd get otherwise, right? Maybe like 80 less. But because we know that we're going to be melee canceling, we're not going to be hit as much. We're going to be playing a patient game where we harass with missiles, and we go in really fast and then get out. So it's like, okay, do we need that much stability? No, we value the AP stats and the freaking the energy efficiency. Like, there you go, right? And then anything else, your supply efficiency goes in the toilet. So then, like, the Howl is the natural choice. And then because my legs and my chest were really low stability for the rest of the build, I was like, naturally, I was like, okay, well, then we need a really high stability head. So it was either Kasuar or Mind Beta. And obviously, then the question becomes, am I scared of stun guns or not? And naturally, the answer is yes. But I was thinking, okay, well, when we fight these stun gun builds, they're going to be coming at me. They're going to be coming into my weapon engagement zone, right? They're going to be coming up close to me. That's going to make it easy for me to hit a Pulse Blade Wurger, which is probably going to do a lot more damage to them than their stun guns are going to do to me. So it was a calculated risk. I was like, I'm going to take the better head, which is the Kasuar, and be at risk of stun guns so I can land my attack combo, because I know that they have to get close to me to do their thing. Now, obviously, that calculation changes now that Therapist was buffed. But I still think this build is solid. And then you go to the rest of the build. Obviously, we know we want to do melee thrust and use like the melee thrust as like as our movement, so that's why we go Kikaku. But Flugel's another option, right? Melee thrust. You could run Gridwalker, but I mean, you're losing out on a bunch of other things to use Gridwalker. Alula's a choice, but you're losing out on 4K of boost, or 2K if you run Flugel. So that's how we pick that, and then obviously also it's already predetermined. And then generator, right? We know we want energy firearm spec. And if we look, this cooks our recharge delay, which we don't want, and this has no capacity, so we can't chase. And then here, coral gens are their own thing, man. I'm not a fan of coral gens because I don't like the delay. It puts you in like a rhythm that I don't like, but it's an option. So like that's how you build it, right? So like these, and then their final numbers, right? Defense is just like some final considerations. Defenses, don't go below 1,000 if you can help it. It's not good. That you take extra damage below 1,000. Target tracking is just a composite of your arms and your FCS. And then these are your composite numbers for all your boosting. So, oh, and having arm load but not using all of it increases your tracking as well, I'm pretty sure. So there's that. Yeah, so like that's just like kind of my thought process on when I put together an AC, and how I arrive at the builds I do. If you guys have any questions, I will answer every single one in the comments. I wasn't feeling, freaking playing a bunch of games today, and maybe I'd do a more chill video just breaking down how I build something and how I put stuff together. By the time you guys see this video, I'm going to be live on YouTube playing Helldivers with my roommate, so hop in and say hello.